You manage budgets, projects, and people. But do you manage your own health? What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
Hey, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our future content. Our podcast is for those who want to go beyond the grind. My name is Kay.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Tosin. And we often talk about ROI in business, but I think the first real return comes from your body.
Absolutely.
Before the brand, before the team, before the money, before the grind.
Before the sign.
All of the above. I think you got to focus on your body.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And for me, it starts with, how you start your day. I remember when, when I was working 9 to 5, right? What I would do every day is I would, once I wake up, I would go to the gym. And essentially, that was me setting the tone for how I was going to start my day, right? And then what I realized is once I'm done at the gym, I would shower and I would go straight to work. And everything just seems pretty much straightforward. Everything is easy. Why? Because the way that, I've gone through all the necessary pressure. I've put my body through so many things, in the gym. So by the time I get to work, everything else is easy. But here's the crazy thing. I remember when I started my entrepreneurship journey, I stopped going to the gym because I felt like it was so many things to do. I don't have time. And then I realized that
was getting you through it. And you didn't know it.
It was crazy. So I was trying to implement the EOS system. That's the entrepreneur operating system, right? That's the framework for transparency, accountability, so that everybody can execute, right?
Right.
But I realized it was tasking on my body and my mind just to be able to implement it because I was doing so much. Think about this. You ever notice that when you go to the gym, the hardest workout is the one that you're quote unquote meant to do first because it makes everything else much easier? Have you ever done that before?
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better.
Well, go ahead.
The hardest workout is opening the door to the gym. Well, I'm serious.
Well, in my specific scenario, so
let's let Kay land.
Anytime I go to the gym, right, I try to focus on compound exercise first because it focuses on so many different muscles, and then by the time I go into like the targeted muscles, it becomes quite easy. And I feel like that same analogy goes for you in the office or at work. If you focus on doing the hardest thing, the first thing in the morning, meetings, reading emails, one-on-ones, everything else becomes a lot easier. And that's how I look at it.
I think that's maybe a playbook for those that are morning people. Right, because if you're not a morning person, and you're trying to wake up and everybody's blasting you with all kinds of Zoom meetings and all that stuff, are you your best?
It depends, though.
You got to make yourself a morning person then.
Because you got to realize that if
you got to go beyond the grind, right?
Okay.
You got to look at it from this angle, right? If you're so consumed with everything that's going on in the office, it's probably because your body is not fully awake yet. Or should I say your mind is not fully awake yet. Think about when you're running, right? And have you guys ever done this where you're running and you want to slow down, but you tell yourself 30 more seconds. And then when 30 seconds is over, you're like, you know what, maybe I could do another 30 seconds. So you keep, playing mind game with yourself so you can keep going, so you can push through. I think the same thing goes at work where even if you're not a morning person, because you've already pushed your mind and your body to a place of no going back. By the time you get in the office, it doesn't matter if you're a morning person or not. The hardest part about the day is already over.
Alan, how about you? When did you first realize that your body, affects the outcome within your business?
So it's kind of like he said. You've been doing something a certain way your whole life, right? For me, it was always eating healthy, working out, being fit, Then the grind gets you and you just say, I gotta grind. I'm so tired. You just grind. And for a long time, I thought, oh, you always need to get your mental in the space, and then you can start, working on your body and this, that, and that. The best advice I have to anyone is if you're in a rut, if you don't know where to start, just walk outside. Just get outside, clear your thoughts, start walking. Don't even think about where you're going. Just walk. You'll start feeling better just walking, clearing your thoughts. Yeah. The second thing is just if you're like, well, I gotta plan this, don't even think about all that. Just first goal is to just get out of bed, put your shoes on. Yeah. Next goal is just to put your clothes on. Next goal is get to the car. Next goal is you might keep doing that and just get to the car and be in the parking lot looking at all these people go in the gym and then go home. Eventually you'll say, dang, I wonder what it looks like they're having fun. You'll eventually go in. And next thing you know, you're a gym person. But for me, there was a time where I was so stressed where I think I was borderline depressed, to be honest. The grind was just getting to me. I had no time for anything. And I was like, man, I need to go to the gym. I haven't really been going to the gym. I'm so stressed. I can't even do anything. And I was like, I didn't make time for the gym. I was like, well, I'll start next week. Then I was like, and I talked to somebody and they said something to me that really lit me up. And something about me is it takes a lot for me to get upset. But when I'm upset,
it's evident.
It's evident. And if it's something that I feel like I'm being challenged about. So he said something about me, like about not being able to manage stuff. So I got mad. I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym next week, whatever. He's like, no, you're not. I was like, I've been going to the gym my whole life. And he's like, no, you're not. So I got off the phone and I was like, I'm not waiting at the gym. And mind you, it was like 12 midnight. Just got on there, started doing some push-ups, some sit-ups, ran around the block. Next morning, went to the gym. Every day after that, went to the gym. I was like, bro, like this is me. And for me, by doing that, it was almost I was proving something to myself and to him. But I realized in doing that, like, dang, I'm much better at work now. Like, who knew I just needed to, instead of trying to plan it, just do it. Yeah. Just do it. Stop planning for your body. Just do it. Yeah. And then along the way, you can start planning for it. Yeah. If you're still waiting for this perfect plan of like diet, exercise I need, because some people are like, well, once I figure out my meal plan, once I figure out this workout, and once I do this, and once I do this, man, years go by. Every New Year's, the same thing. Instead of just being like, I don't know what I need to do, I'm going straight to the gym. If you even walk on the treadmill, it's a mental toughness you have to get used to. Yeah. So it's not so daunting going to the gym. And I tell people, I'm kind of like you. I don't like running. I don't like running like long distance. I'll do sprints and stuff. But when you said, have you ever thought, 30 more? I'm like, that's how I do all my, but I get it. And I'm very intense. So I'm like, okay, I got to go hard. And so the more you do it, it's like a muscle. It becomes easier. And when you take care of yourself, all this cortisol and anxious and stress energy, now I always had a saying that kind of was like, you got to turn something negative into something positive. But
did that happen for you because of what somebody said about you, or because you felt like this is what you needed to do to become a holistic, just to focus on your health holistically?
I think I knew it was what I needed to do because that's what I always did. But I forgot that was, you need to take care of yourself before you take care of everything else. Nothing can operate if you're not at your optimal. Yes. So you have to get the quality sleep, and nothing helps you sleep better, in my opinion, than working out. If you're stressed out, go work out.
I mean, there's some other things you could do.
There's some other things, but I'm saying like it's a lot of things you can do. But you know what I mean? Like you're gonna be tired, you're gonna fall asleep. Then you can kind of wake up with the energy to tackle the world. When your body is optimal, then your mind can be optimal. Yeah. But if you're just spending a lot of time just stressing about everything, and like you said, I'm the morning workout. Unlike Tosin said he's not. Well, for
but
me, you became one.
Well, I was about to start it because for me, I started my business when I was 24, right? And I just look back, and I had a thought back then, but I think I kind of came into the full realization recently. But I'm like, if I'm supposed to do this for the next 40 years, you need it. 50, 60 years, I'm not gonna last. No, there were a lot of little things that I was saying that we need to do this industry different, because a lot of what we do is we just sit down in front of a computer all day long.
Yes,
bad
and they
for your
say,
back.
yeah, well, not just for bad for your back, but
Eyes.
they say sitting is the new smoking.
Yes.
Is the thing, right? So if we're in front sedentary for the whole day, like
Yes.
you don't know all kinds of issues, health
Terrible.
issues that can come up with it. Plus, maybe your diet is not the best because, like you said, cortisol levels, stress,
You don't have time.
then you're stress eating. You just want the fried foods. You just want XYZ food just
You're
to make you
hypoglycemic
feel better.
because you
Yeah.
didn't eat lunch, so you just grab whatever.
So there's a lot of impact from just the type of work that we do.
Yeah.
So recently I was just like, you know what? I've been off and on, taking care of my body, and things got to change. I've got to actually make some time for it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the only time slot that's available for me to take care of this is 6 to 7 a.m. All right. So I've got to wake up at 5, get to the gym by 6, out by 7, get ready and take my girls to school. And then I go off to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that routine of changing my habits and
Yeah.
getting more structure into taking care of my
Yes.
body has helped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Because now that's even what I'm telling my staff is that, you know what, even for lunch, if you didn't do anything,
Just do one thing.
don't even have lunch at your desk, please.
Yeah, just-
right. Go outside, like walk around. You don't have to go to the gym, but it helps our performance
Yeah.
because what we were noticing is that later or afternoon-ish meetings, everybody is kind of like
Tired,
snippy. Everybody's just, they're like, they're close to the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that interaction bleeds through when you're interacting with clients.
Yeah.
You're not as
true.
efficient. You're
Yeah.
just kind of
Or
just
you're
dragging
short.
it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Like,
I have
you're not efficient because you're just like trying to just drag yourself to the finish line.
No, but even if there was one
'Cause you're just
situation, I think
so
one
irritable.
of my managers was either tired or just like
Give her a snicker.
already annoyed or whatever, and she just went at it with the
Yeah.
client.
Yeah.
And you were
Right.
like,
And it
who
was
are you?
recorded. We have these AI recording thingies that jump into the meeting. And I was like, that wasn't a good meeting. You should have rescheduled this meeting
Right,
from
like-
the jump.
I mean,
But
so
it's all about, sitting down and not
That's true.
not like being
yeah,
what do you call
S-
it?
stagnant.
Being stagnant,
Yeah.
not going out and,
You gotta just give
letting
your
the
body.
endorphins flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, my philosophy is simple, right? If you start your day with the hardest thing, everything else becomes quite easy. But I think the key thing here is that works for me, right? But for others, it might not work because of their schedule. So you got to find what hour of the day actually allow you to just move around, do something active. Because at the end of the day, if you are so concerned about everything else going on around your life that you don't focus on yourself,
Right.
everything else is going to fall apart
sure.
anyway. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like when you're on the plane, and they tell you like, hey, if we have any issues and we get the
oxygen.
the oxygen mask, take care of
Put it on
yourself
yourself.
first before
Yeah.
you take care of somebody else.
can't
Because
take
if you're
care
trying to save somebody else and you don't save yourself and something happens to you, then everybody goes down,
Right.
So I know sometimes people have the mentality that I got to make money, or I got to provide for my wife. I got to be there for my kids. I got to go to church. I mean, we're doing so many things, especially as men, but we got to realize that in the midst of those activities, the most important investment that you can make for yourself is just moving around so that you can still be able to do all the things that you need to do. They say that, the greatest health is wealth.
Yep.
So that at least that's how I look at it.
Now, we've talked about body, physical
Mental.
exercise, right? It's important, but I also want us to throw in the part about mental health because
100%.
unlike previous generations, a lot of our work is brain work.
Yes.
Right? We're not
saying that they weren't intelligent.
no, that's not what I was saying, right? I'm just saying our work is not physical.
I know.
Or most
not
of our
manual,
work is not manual, physical labor like it used to be. Now
most people.
It's significantly skewed to, we're more using our brains to work type of things rather than using our manual labor, right? So how do we make sure that as we are pursuing the grind, we're also focusing on mental health as much as we're also focusing on physical health?
I think for me, from personal experience, I tell everyone, I actually got, so in our community, in the African American community in general, I feel like we don't really, it's not common for us to seek counseling or therapy and whatnot. But in other communities, it is common. And I had a friend of mine who told me, hey, you don't, he looked at me like I was crazy. You don't talk to a therapist regularly? You're a business person. And I was like, I mean, I do for like other stuff, but I'm good. He was like, no, you need to go at least, once you're good, you need to go at least quarterly. And after I took his advice, I was like, you know what? That felt kind of good. Like all that stuff that
is it a business therapist or
no? It's just a therapist. As a business person, you carry a lot of stress, a lot of hopes and dreams and just stress, and it helps to have someone to talk it through instead of just your head, and someone who's a professional, and that's what they do. So I think sometimes we're not able to actually fully convey what we feel, right, to others, because we feel like, you're going through the same thing. We're just surface talk, and you don't want to burden everyone with every details of personal life, business, everything intermingled. So having that outlet, and sometimes it's great to have a voice outside your own to say, hey, you're not crazy. You are stressed. Like we do see that. And sometimes it'll help you with a game plan to kind of like manage that stress level. So that kind of helped. And then, I went around asking a couple of people, and I was pretty much the only one who didn't ever think of going that route. And I was like, wait, all 10 of y'all? You're like, yeah, how do you think we handle all this? I was like, oh, well, I would have liked to know that a couple years back. But that helped. Two, I would say, doing something that brings you joy. You do, I think, having you guys, having some other people is good, that you're able to bounce things off of each other and kind of just, one thing I would say that my mom always told me is like, don't leave anything inside. Don't leave anything inside. If you have anything, you have to let it out, or it will manifest itself some way or another. It will find another outlet out through you. Yeah. So
just to build on what you said, think of this example. Now, most people, especially in our culture, will go to the doctor when something is wrong. Correct? But why is it that we have annual checkup? For preventives. We want to make sure that we're being proactive rather than being reactive, so that if there was something coming up, we're able to take care of it, eradicate it, so that we're good. And I look at therapy from the same perspective. A lot of time people go to therapy because there's an issue. So the mindset is, something must be wrong with you if you're seeking therapy, right? For me, I do it quarterly. Not because I feel like something is wrong, but because sometimes you just need somebody to be able to talk to, just to be able to iron out all the things you got going on in your head, so that they can at least make sense of everything that's going on. So I definitely agree with you on that. The second one, and I'm guilty of this because I do it all the time. My favorite, I call it soft life. So sometimes, I would set up a spa date. Right, me, myself, and I go. They rubbing on my head, get a nice massage, and I would go home and basically watch like 1 or 2 movies, and I'm just eating popcorn, just relaxing. Like this is me time. Like I'm not talking to nobody. Like. And I do it when the like I would do it. Like I would make sure like the kids are out nobody's home and it's
No
just
one is but
it's me, right? Or like, you know, if I want to be around people, I'll call my guys. Hey, what are you guys doing?
Right.
You know, let's go have some fun. It could be something as simple as just going to a sports bar to just watch the game, you know, or it could be something as little as what we were doing before we started shooting. We talking about money, opportunities, things like that. Don't stress me.
Right.
It makes me excited.
Excited,
You know, our producer Shabak said, hey, whatever you're talking about over there, I need 2% of that. You know, those type of conversations, you know, might stress other people, but for me, that's something I would want to. It's a passion for me, you know, because I'm trying to see how I can go beyond the grind. You feel me? So that's how I look at it.
Well, you guys talked about therapist, and I'm just gonna own up. I've always had this idea of therapists like Wendy. Have you guys seen the show Billions?
Yes.
Right. I'm looking for, because I don't go to a therapist. Maybe I do need one. Maybe I'll burden them enough. But I'm looking for like a Wendy, right? For those who haven't seen Billions, go and watch it.
Yeah,
right?
Billions Wendy.
But there's a therapist in there that helps so it's a show about traders on New York Wall Street.
Yeah.
And there's a therapist that works within the company
to help them get the best out.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That get
The Tony Robbins therapist.
Yes, but it's an internal.
amalgam. Yeah.
It's an internal, so you can also talk about, you know, client, what do you call it?
Everything.
Client information and all that good stuff.
Which is awesome,
All right.
actually.
So that's the idea that I have when it comes to a therapist. Like, what is the experience for those of us that are like, is this person really going to understand?
You have to
what
find the
we
right
are?
fit.
But
So there are people who they have different niches. I'm not an expert, but you can find someone and you can explain to them what you're looking for.
Yeah, so
And they can do that. Given your goals and what you want to improve. Sometimes what you want and what they see you want is not the same. And
so they tell you they're not the right fit.
no, sometimes they go with you and then they help you do a discovery and you're like, oh, I need to do this first. That's why I'm like this. And that's why I can't get to here. You know?
Yeah.
So, but
for me, so I looked for a therapist that was really big on self-development, right? Mine's is the three main things I was looking for. You know, somebody who understands fatherhood, number one. Somebody who understands being a husband, and somebody who understands being an entrepreneur. Those things sometimes tend to clash with each other because sometimes, you know, you get so bugged down.
clash.
You get so bugged down on, you know, trying to get that money that you forget that, hey, you got a wife or you got kids. You get what I'm saying? And trying to, you know, balance all three in a way that still makes you feel like you haven't lost yourself. It's quite important for me. So when I'm speaking to this therapist, the conversation isn't always about, hey, I have a problem with this. The conversation is always, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about that. And they're basically kind of like that, you know, okay, if you want to do this, why do you want to do it? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So it kind of sharpens my mind and get me to start thinking in a way. Like, for example, as a husband, right? You talk about being a leader all the time, but do you know that one of the hardest part about being a husband is the ability to be proactive as a leader? Like, sometimes you don't think about that. You just think like, look, I'm the head of the house. Like, I'm going to just come in
and just sit down.
Right.
No.
But, you know, he made me to understand being proactive with my wife's emotional needs, what my kids need, but also at the same time, being able to, you know, identify the emotions that I feel when I'm not feeling respected and still be consistent and still showing love. Like, that takes another level of thinking, because the hardest part, especially for human being, is to be able to love somebody when you feel disrespected.
I think it's harder for men, to be honest, to because we live by a code of, I'm not talking about every man, but, you know, I know a lot of men, the code is like, there's a respect that is said and also unspoken.
Yes.
And I think sometimes, not all women, but sometimes they forget that because they're not necessarily like,
I mean, they're wired differently.
Yes, exactly. So I would say like respect is a very big thing amongst a lot of men. So when that's lacking, we're like,
but let me tell Tosin the biggest reason. The biggest reason is because I don't like my business out there. So HIPAA lets me, like, seriously,
it protects them from having to say anything.
You know, how many times have you wanted to just, sense check something with somebody, but you're a bit nervous that, you know what, I shouldn't be sharing this with this person, right?
Exactly.
So it creates a safe space for you to say whatever you want to say, but still feel comfortable enough to know that when all this is done, it's like a talking diary that would never get out.
You know, you reminded me, actually, therapy is included in most health insurance.
Yes.
Actually.
Oh, I said
so
quarterly.
it might even be something that you can go on the health insurance app that your employer or your business has and just look up therapists.
It's a must now.
Just, some of those interview them.
But I'm not going to lie. Before I had the health insurance, I wasn't doing it because I'm like, I'm not going to pay for this. But then my wife's insurance, it comes with it. And I was like, I'll take advantage of it.
No, another thing is that actually, I think talking about sitting in the desk all day, posture, all that stuff, I go to a chiropractor and, I'm a dentist. So we're like that all day long. So it's very important. So a lot of health insurance is going to also cover that.
Yeah.
So there's just things you can do to prevent and keep yourself optimal so that you're at your best. You don't want to be poorly performing because of limitations of your body, things that mind, body, just physical body, just things, emotional, everything has to be on point. So, your best, that when your body is at optimal performance, you're just running smooth. Right. It's easier to do things. It doesn't require as much effort versus when you're struggling, you're just chugging, and you're giving your most effort, and this person's barely trying. Yeah. So
really quickly before we close out, I want to ask Tosin the question because you did mention that therapy is not something that you've looked into. So how do you, besides the physical exercise, how do you keep your mind sharp?
I was just about to jump in and speak on that.
Sudoku.
So number one, sleep. All right.
That's a mandatory.
Man, you guys don't even know. Especially if you're an early riser and you're grinding all day and then you come back, you still got stuff, I think sleep is still extremely important.
Absolutely.
We just finished like a massive deadline for tax reporting and all that stuff. I was jumping in there.
Congratulations.
Helping all my tax managers. And I just felt burnt out. So like for the last 2 weekends, I don't know why, but I just sleep. I've been sleeping. Like I'd sleep all night, probably like 8 hours, wake up, eat, look around,
go back to sleep.
I'm not trying to sleep, but I was just sleeping the last 2 weekends. And like this week, I'm feeling like, I feel like I'm back. Okay. I was still working out.
Yes.
But I would still feel that heaviness.
Yeah. Your body never has not rested.
And I was working out. I was eating right. I'm trying to eat right,
Tosin been getting swole, y'all.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my Allen swole on,
Look at him, man. He been getting swole. Sneaky swole, right?
Sleep is like really, really important, at least for me. That doesn't get too much of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Next is that mindset space.
Quiet time.
You can call it quiet time.
Okay.
But it's like what are those self thoughts that are in your mind? Meaning that there's a lot of people that have these internal conversations that will weigh you down.
Yep.
Right. So there are different things you can do to clear to like help guide or tune that internal conversation. One is religion, right? But what are those things that you're telling yourself on a constant basis when nobody is there? When you're sitting alone, right? Are you beating yourself on past mistakes, past errors?
Yeah.
Or are you like beating yourself down because you're not where you're supposed to be? Like those things take like a huge mental toll.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
That internal conversation needs to be properly like aimed at something that will build you up. But it's very, very easy to just slide down into,
yeah.
Man, I wish I had that car. Dang. I I just lost 5K on that trade. Dang, you know, like you just be like,
Trades will hurt.
I said it on purpose to get hurt.
But you're winning. You're winning though, so you got to remember that. Take the pros with the cons.
That's it. You know, but it's very easy for, even when you feel like you're winning.
Yeah.
There's still a way for those could-haves to come in and just start like bothering, like cluttering your mind.
The past.
And I'm trying to always make sure that, you know, like I'm not over processing stuff. Yes, it's not that I'm brushing everything away.
Yeah.
But I'm not letting it hold me back to where it's going to deter what I'm going to do next. Right? I'm not going to process it. Hey, you know what? I bought a bunch of real estate. They were all bad deals. We gonna face it. All right. We gonna do what we gonna do.
Nothing you can do about the past. So
we're just gonna figure out the next step.
Yeah.
Right. It's not gonna be like, man, if I took that money and I just invested in S&P 500, do you know where I'd be today? You couldn't even talk to me today. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So those are kind of, I'll just keep it at those two things: sleep and proper mindset.
Yeah.
Right. And staying in that safe space where you're allowing yourself to build up.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Alan, can you take us out?
yes, thank you for watching another episode of Beyond the Grind. And you know, this episode or this show is for the dreamers who dream big, for the entrepreneurs on the go, and for the business owners trying to go beyond the grind. I need you guys to stay tuned for more.
Yeah.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at gobeyondthegrind.com.
That's right.
Until next time, guys.
Peace.